Well, hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Joel and this is A Stable Life. I'm so happy to see you guys here and I'm so happy that you clicked on the video. My apologies, it's a little windy out here. This has been something that a lot of you have been requesting. So let's get started with the tour. Today we're gonna take you guys through everything and give you a virtual tour of our stables. For those of you that don't know, the stable that we are at is called Sunny Knoll Stables. It was established back in 1988 by my mother, and it is home to the YouTube channel that you guys watch, A Stable Life. We're kicking things off with the parking lot. This area you guys see often. This is where we and our clients can park their vehicles. And if you were here, this would be the starting point for the stable. And the first thing that you'll see when you're in the parking lot is the upper riding arena. This is the main riding arena and has taken various shapes and forms over the years. In fact, when the stable first started, right up here where you see the tractors parked was the parking, and this whole area right here was a riding arena. It was covered in about 1.5 feet deep of wood chips, and this over here was a regular dirt riding arena, and that was the only two that was on the property. Of course, that has changed, and now we have an upper riding arena. Looks like it was set up originally for some cloverleaf barrels. A lot of the clients like to use this up here to warm up their horses before they head out on the trails, which is way out yonder. This riding arena was home to the riding lesson program. There would be between 6 and 8 horses in this arena at one time, and they would all be children learning how to ride horses. There was 2 programs every single day with the exception of Tuesday and Saturday and Sunday. One at 4 p.m. and one at 5:30 p.m. The kids would learn mostly Western riding, and they would learn how to ride, how to control their horse, and then as they would move up in the program, eventually they would get into different gaming events such as cloverleaf barrels, pole bending, keyhole, and other things. This arena used to be used a lot more than it is now. Now it's pretty much just available for whoever wants to use it when they come to the stable. The next thing that you're going to come across is the staging area. Now this has taken many forms over its lifetime. Currently it's where a lot of the tractor equipment and wagons are stored, as well as the hay barn and the tractor shed. The hay barn was originally inside the stable, as you'll see later, but this is now where the large square bales are all stored, and this is where our hay's at. Looking spicy. Currently, it is also the home to the tractor, though without spoiling too much, that will be changing in the near future. Exciting times. As will the staging area. It'll be nice, but this will hopefully turn from a staging area into something that's a little bit more horse-friendly and available for our clients to enjoy some good quality time with their horses. Making our way further over here, we see the first of 2 entrances. This right here is the main entrance. Walking into the main entrance, this gives you access to the west wing. And this over here is the service entrance. This is the main entrance that is used by pretty much everybody that works at the stable. So mostly my mother, myself, and Gavin. This has access to the main light as well as the floodlight, the water hydrant, and is currently the home of the 4-wheeler. Walking in the service entrance, you see direct access to the west wing, the central wing, and a direct overhead look of the feed area. This entire process was actually documented, so if you're new to the channel and would like to see what happened to get this to where it is today, go ahead and take a look back in a couple of videos, how this used to be where all of our hay was stored, which is why the roof is a little higher here. It was quite a lot of work, but we're really happy with how things turned out. Continuing from the main entrance down here in the western wing, this is actually one of 3 wings that are in our horse stable. We have the western wing, the central wing, which is home to all of the mares, and the northern wing. The northern wing has 9 horses, the central wing has 7 horses, and the western wing has 9 horses, giving us a grand total of 25 horses for capacity for our horse stable. The western wing is almost entirely used for all boarded horses. Taking a look at each of the stalls, you'll notice that each horse has its own nameplate. We do not decorate any of the stalls, but that is up to the clients. The way things work is you can think of us kind of like a horse apartment building. The owner will pay to rent a stall, and what's awesome about that is it gives them the opportunity to completely personalize everything. So they pick their own nameplate. They sometimes put pictures up of them and their horse. Some of them customize their stall by adding additional tack boxes inside or ribbons from previous competitions that they participated in. Like Danny here. You can see Danny has participated in a lot of competitions and actually has done a really good job in a lot of them. All of those blue ribbons are first place. Some of them are at our own horse show that happened here. Others are at other horse shows that happened around the state. Firstly, every single stall is fully matted. Comes with a hay rack, a bucket for grain, a bucket holder and bucket for water, a tack box, and a salt lick holder. And then the owners can pretty much personalize it for however which they want. Some of them add extra little toys for their horses while they're in the stall. Others add little organizers to hold some of the various different medications that they use for their horse. For instance, with Obi, this one's holding some of his shampoo, and Swat, that's used for his belly during the summers with flies. Taking a look inside the tack boxes, this is an older style where we basically just use a shower curtain, really, to separate things. The newer ones have a full-on door on the side to prevent the horse from being able to get inside, which is a lot nicer. So we make sure that the tack boxes with doors are available for our clients. We just haven't gotten around to putting in the doors for ourselves yet. Most of the tack boxes have room for 2 to 3 saddles and a bunch of bridle holders to hold all of the bridles that you would like to have. Which raises a unique question. We get in the comment section a lot about how we are able to have tack stored in the same stall the horse is in. Using Poncho's stall here as a good example, you can really see that most of the stuff is put away and kept out, because if the horses were able to, they'd rip the treats out and they would get inside the tack box and pull everything out. Mostly the only thing that's left out in stalls is the blankets, and it depends on the horse. Some horses are more curious, others don't really care at all, like Declan here. Whenever he's in the stall, he doesn't bother any of the stuff that's in his stall. We used to have a group tack room that was over in the central wing. Let's check it out. Yeah, that's right, guys. Surprise, surprise, Sarah's stall actually used to be a group tack room. We had a couple problems with a group tack room. The first and foremost being that people would accidentally grab other people's stuff, and it led to a he said, she said situation that we would always like to avoid. It was also a room that got filled with clutter, and it was a good hiding place for animals, such as rodents, or even a raccoon or possum. And yes, we have had situations where someone came to get their saddle, and when they grabbed the horn, they saw 2 eyes staring back at them, only to realize that there was a possum that was hiding inside on top of the saddle, which, as you can imagine, is not something you want to deal with when you go to get your saddle to saddle up your horse. So we made the change to having tack boxes in all of the stalls so everybody can keep all of their tack personal and to themselves. We find that it works best for us. Looking down here at the bottom of the feed room, between the western and central wings, we have 2 ropes set up designed to keep the horses from entering. This is a relatively new addition, which is kind of nice. A little area to kind of sit and relax. It's actually pretty cool, especially when the horses are coming in, because you can just sit and watch the horses coming through and going right into their stalls. I'm pretty happy this is here. Our feed room is purpose-built for how we measure out and feed the horses. This is something that you guys see in almost every single one of my videos, and the reason being is it is important. This is the most important room in the stable, because if you mess up here, the domino effects fall through the rest of the barn. In here we have our feed chart, which demonstrates and shows what each horse gets. Every single horse gets individualized feeding. In the mornings they get their grain, and in the evenings they get their supplements. Supplements are currently in the middle of the feed room and set up per horse. Eventually we're going to be putting in some shelves, and those shelves will be holding all of the supplements, freeing up the central area of this room, giving that bench a nice place to reside. You may be curious how it is that we get our grain organized and into the stalls, especially when you have so much diversity with every single horse getting a different measurement and type of feed. Well, that's why we have all of these bins. Every single one of these bins are set up so that they can store feed in a safe way. So that if a mouse wants to try to munch on the grain, well, they can't get access to it. because of the hardened polycarbonate bins. We've actually found that paint buckets work really good at setting things up so that we understand where their grain is. Curious how it works? I'll demonstrate it very briefly. This chart is set up so that as you're measuring out, you simply go from the top and you work your way down. Once you hit the bottom, you just go to the next top and work your way down. So on and so forth. And the way that it works is once you leave this feed room and head out into the different wings to put grain in the horses, it's set up exactly so. You can see that Bella is the last one on this list. Say this is Bella's, and what do we see? Samson is at the top of that list. Samson would be at the bottom of this group. So if you were to be filling these all up, Samson would be the first one filled and Bella would be the last. Meaning that when full, Bella's would be on top. And then as the grain is brought to the stalls, you see that we have now approached Bella's stall first. Then Sarah's, all the way down to Samson. And that's how these buckets work. And that's how we're able to organize all the grain. Otherwise, we'd have to scoop every single amount of grain and then run it to the stall and then go back to the feed room, and go back to the stall, back to the feed room, which I suppose is okay if you're feeding 1 or 4 horses, but 25, you're gonna definitely need to have something a little more organized than that. Walking through the central wing, and right before we hit the northern wing, if you make a left, you'll see that we have access to another arena. This is our lower arena. The lower arena is a multi-purpose arena that we use for many different things. And you can see there's access to a lot of different stuff. Straight ahead, we have access to the middle paddock. Over to our right, we have access to the right and left runs. The right run is home of the donkeys. The left run is our new horse and rehab pasture that, when it's not in use and in good working order, is just left open for the donkeys to have access to both. That barn right there actually can function as 2 additional stalls, meaning that if we wanted to, we could get up to 27 horses and still have all of the horses under roof and installed in the event of a major storm. Right now, the lower arena and the left run are opened up to allow our newest mare, Ava, access to be able to stretch her legs and walk around. What's really nice about this is that Ava gets the opportunity to meet all of the horses in our stable. Up here in the lower arena, she has access to meeting all of the horses in the middle paddock. And down here at the bottom of the left run, we see that she has access to all of the horses in the big field. The big field is our main pasture and one of the biggest attractions for our stable. It is a 60-acre horse pasture that stretches far and wide, ranging from access to the cow pastures on the far right, all the way over to the fields on the far left, with a nice meadow and hollow in the middle. Look at it, weather looking all beautiful and gorgeous there. And we see right next door to the left run that Ava is in is the donkeys. Buster and Rocky's right run pasture. That is the home of the donkeys, aka Donkeyland. This is the other side of the structure that's facing the lower arena and has multiple entrances. As you see, Ava can enter from over here into the stall to have shelter. That door can be closed in the event of a storm, and this door can be closed to keep her inside as a stall. This over here can be opened, allowing a nice window so that if she wants, she can come over here, stick her head out, take a look at the donkeys, and get to know the donkeys in a little bit of a better way. Hey, Buster? We could even open this door, allowing access between both pastures. My mom has a popular saying that she's kept, and it's something that we try to keep in mind anytime we ever add something new or build something on the stable. And that is that anything that we do, buy or use, needs to have a minimum of 2 uses. If it doesn't and only has 1 use, then chances are high that we don't actually need it and it doesn't need to be here. The more uses and the more functionality something has, the more attractive and the more likely that it will be built or used at our facility. This run-in shed has multiple uses, as you can see. And we definitely make good use of it, don't we, Buster? Don't we? We've got rain coming in, which is why this was closed. So I gotta make sure I leave this closed so I don't cause any problems for Gavin, who is the main person feeding for today. Back up here in the lower arena, we can head on over to our hose reel. This is currently where you can wash off your horses. We've got a ring here where you can hook your horse up and a 150-foot long hose. So for some reason, if you want to wash them all the way over by the donkeys, you can. This is hooked up with water from our hydrant back up above our feed room and is able to be used for spring, summer, and fall. Cool fact, if you didn't know, but your average horse drinks up to 8 gallons of water a day. That means that for 25 horses, we are using over 200 gallons of water a day. Well, that's a lot of water. We have a number of watering areas around. Right here is an automatic water bowl that is able to provide water for all of the horses in the middle paddock. It also has the functionality of being able to provide water for any horses that are in the lower arena, left run or right run. By simply leaving the gate open, they remember where the water is, and anytime they're thirsty, they can come right over and get a drink. Sometimes we have situations where we need to keep them in their separate pastures. For example, right now, the donkeys are kept in the right run only. So they have water troughs at the bottom for both the left and right runs, and the water is piped via gravity all the way down and in. Kind of like the aqueduct system, but way less complicated and way easier to maintain. Once we're inside the middle paddock has a few things that are in here for the horses. Firstly, it has 2 run-in sheds. A run-in shed is basically a shed where, oh, it's raining. I'm not in the rain anymore. It's as easy as that. You could just run in and boom, you're out of the weather. This pasture also has access to a jolly ball. So if the horses want, they can actually play with this. And in rare instances, you can actually see them kind of hitting it back and forth to each other. Oh no. Okay, all right, enough playing around. On to the next thing. And down here is the newest structure that has been put inside the middle paddock. This is a run-in shed that is purpose-built with a hay feeder inside of it, allowing us to feed round, square, and small square bales for the horses. This means that the food stays dry and the horses stay dry. This is the newest thing to our stable. We absolutely love it. We're finding very good things with this structure and plan on building more just like it in the near future. And over here, looking at our big field pasture, we see a number of different feeders, but none like this. Well, that'll all be changing soon. But for now, we have one feeder that keeps hay out of the rain, and the horses have access to a run-in shed right where the water is for the big field. With 60 acres, there's lots of different areas for them to find and drink water. And no worries about the distance between everything. It is perfectly normal for horses to walk long distances to find water. Even domesticated horses are used to the idea of walking a while to find water, which is why they drink so much, sometimes all at once. They will drink right when they're turned out, and then head out into the pastures, come back in, and once they are rotated the pasture into a different field or the same field, they'll get another big drink and head back out again. Right, Pancho? Did I mention how nice this bench is? It was pretty nice. And now, zooming out from where the stable is, we are over on the adjacent mountain looking in from the big field's perspective at the stable. Our stable, being that we have lots of large animals, needs to be quite big in order to accommodate all of those large creatures, which means that we have a lot of things in there. We may not have all the creature comforts that a more expensive stable has, but we are very proud of the facility that we have created and the amenities that it possesses. And we think that it's a great price for anybody who would like to be at our facility. That being said, one of the biggest reasons that an individual wants to come to our stable, and something that we enjoy and are proud of, and that I have not featured too much on the channel and want to feature a lot more, is our trails. I'm actually over here on our trails. This is one right here. The farm is about 400 acres in size, and it accommodates a large amount of paths, like one that you see here, going out through the fields. And these paths vary in type and in difficulty. You have nice, beautiful paths like this one that allows you to get a good sweeping view of the mountains. And really long sweeping hills. These hills are actually pretty awesome because the horses get really excited right when they're coming up to the hill, and they love galloping up the hills. They're nice and long and wide, allowing for you and your friends as you're running to just book it and open your horse up to a full gallop as you're going flying up the hill. Or if you like nice and long straightaways, of course, those are there as well. To long sweeping paths that start off as a hill and then flatten out and really allow you to get your stride in. Or you can always hit the occasional hayfield, making sure there's no gopher holes, of course. You don't want that to happen. And really open up your horse for a full-on gallop. Like I said, I don't mention this much on the channel, and I really want to talk more about it, but our trails are awesome. And there's something that is really just the centerpiece of why you'd want to have a horse and be out here and ride it, and use it. Good stuff. It's awesome. Then again, there's also the woods. Don't like being out in the open? The woods is really an awesome thing that I love riding the horses in. And it really is diverse. You've got cliffside paths that you've got a nice hill to your right and the beautiful Nescapet Creek to your left. You know, probably not the best if you're somebody that's scared of heights. There's also just natural streams that flow through the paths, allowing your horse to get a drink of water. The Nescapet Creek snakes through the property a lot, so you can see it in many different places as you're going through the woods. And then there's just the good old-fashioned woods, just riding around inside the woods and enjoying the feeling of nature. It's a good place to be when it's windy because the woods is inside a hollow and it breaks up a lot of the wind, meaning that when it's really windy out in the fields, it's nice and cool and calm down in the woods. Conversely, when it's beautiful outside and you want a nice breeze, open it up and enjoy the fields. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tour of our stable. It's definitely a video that was needed. Gives you guys a great idea of virtually what it's like being at our stable. I know a lot of you have been watching the channel for a long time and have been requesting to see a more in-depth look at everything in the stable, everything that's used, and what an actual tour of the stable would look like. So I recognize a lot of you aren't able to make it over here to do a visit, so I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. One thing you may have noticed that we didn't feature in this video was actually all of the horses that make our stable so full and unique. Well, I got good news. In the next video, we're gonna be going in depth with every single horse at our stable, including the 2 donkeys, talking about their breeds, their age, and giving you an in-depth look at all 25 horses and 2 miniature donkeys. So make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget to hit that like button. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. All right, so this next part of the video is something that I thought of on the way back to the stable, and I just thought a lot of you guys have been faithful viewers for a long time. And you guys love the videos, and this is something I have never done. This next part of the video, there's gonna be no talking or anything. I'm just gonna do a raw clip of walking down through the main entrance, through the stables, and out to the pastures. Thank you guys for being awesome.